Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt, and this is session 8 of Paladins. We're 8 sessions in. That's pretty cool, man. That's a pretty big... That's not a milestone, but we're coming up on a milestone of 10 sessions, so that's cool. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I do want to, before I forget, remind everyone that we do have a Mecha Hack Kickstarter happening right now, and there is a link down in the description if you have not yet checked it out. The Kickstarter is for the Mecha Hack Mission Manual, which is our sequel supplement to the Mecha Hack. It has a bunch of new player options, new equipment and modules, as well as more than 30 one-page missions for you to use with the game. So definitely check that out if you have the chance. I'm going to do a brief recap of what happened last time on Mecha Hack Paladins, and then we're going to jump right into it. What's up, JB?
I forgot. I wanted to clear this before, but I don't think you have a problem with it. I wanted to say that a lot of people's collective hearts are going out to the Mora family right now. Kirby Mora, the voice actor for Troa Barton in Mobile Suit Gundam Wing.
Yes.
He played Billy Natagiri in Mobile Suit Gundam 00. He played Vaughn in Escaflowne. Huge, prolific, specifically mobile and mecha voice actor.
Yep.
Recently passed away. And I just thought that it'd be a good platform to just say, like, you know, our hearts are going out for his.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I saw that the other day, and that dude was kind of the voice of my childhood, honestly. So many.
He's done so much.
So much. So many anime that he was, if not the main character, then a really important side character in that anime. It's such a large body of work. So such a bummer to have him leave. And Tro was always my favorite anyway. So yes, definitely hearts going out to his family and friends. And this is for you. This is dedicated in his memory. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let's do a quick recap, and then we'll jump right into the game. So last time on Mecha Hack Paladins, the Paladins took part in a battle in the asteroid field surrounding the world of Infernus, a Neo-Dominion world once ruled by the Bastion family, but now under the control of still technically the Bastion family, but not the rightful heir. And so, gathering what loyalists they could, the Paladins stage a battle against the blockade that surrounded the planet, tangling with mecha, interceptor fighters, and a cruiser. And in fact, the cruiser was downed with a single shot from Paladin 3's sniper rifle. He shot that thing right in the tailpipe, and it blew up in a glorious explosion. It was amazing. And in addition to those Neo-Dominion mecha, the fighter craft, and the cruisers, there was also another combatant on the field, Paladin Warhawk, who we've all kind of figured out, including Mora at this point, that Warhawk is a clone of Mora, an evil twin, something. They look like and sound like Mora, and they even fight like Mora, as Mora found out. However, to the best of their knowledge, this Paladin Warhawk has been dealt with. The downed cruiser slammed into an asteroid, also slamming into Paladin Warhawk in the process. But we still might see some of them. When we closed out the session, Paladin 3's, better known by his rightful name of Pax Bastion, gave a stirring speech using the radio tower that the Paladins took and basically sought his claim for the throne of Infernus, and that is where we left them last time. We open on a stark white backdrop. So bright that you cannot tell the floor from the walls from the ceiling. A blank expanse. It is eerily silent, I say, realizing as the combat music is still playing from last time. Standing amidst this endless white is Mattie Jai, a lone figure. Mattie, you're looking around. You don't remember how you got here. And in fact, the last thing you remember was approaching that comm station in orbit around Infernus. As you look around, what's going through your mind?
This is weird. Yeah, there is an emptiness here and a sterility that really puts him on edge. Mattie has always felt more lonely and scared of wide open spaces than close quarters. He feels exposed. The fact that there's not a crush of people around him worries him, and he is also extremely curious and fascinated by his surroundings. I mean, he would try to reach out with his senses and try to get some kind of bearing as to where he is or what the quality of this place is like. Is there solid ground beneath his feet? Is there an odor in the air? And barring any of that, he would just think and wonder.
As you take in the extent of your surroundings and realize that there is no sound, there is no odor, the only sign that there is even ground to stand on is the fact that you're not falling. And as you take all of this in, a voice says, "It's your turn, Mattie. Mattie, it's your turn." And as you turn to look, you're suddenly in the bedroom that you once shared with your brother. And you're sitting cross-legged on the floor. And there's your brother. And between you sits a game that you once played. What is this game? Describe it to me. What does it look like? It's something that you and your brother did to help pass the time as children.
It's an orb that floats above a pedestal, and the orb is made up of interconnecting squares that on the surface are all the same color, but floating above the surface of the squares are different pieces of various geometrical designs, almost akin to chess pieces, but since chess is a thing of the past, the way past, before the memory of anybody in this system, this is kind of what it's turned into. And there are there are red pieces and there are black pieces. Mattie always plays the black pieces, and as they move their pieces, not only do they make captures, but colors indicating their team sort of glow and sort of take up the territory on the cube. And so he's sort of looking at it. He, of course, you see that Lucas's red pieces have created a very strong path and strategic position in order to win, whereas Mattie has been sort of drawing pictures with his pieces and the path that they move. And he would say, Lucas? What? What are you doing here?
What do you mean? It's my room. I was here first. Come on, it's your turn.
He hesitantly moves towards the sphere. There are tears building in his eyes, not just from joy at the sight of his brother, but a fear. And he moves close and he subtly reaches out towards a piece that sort of looks like a monolith with different spheres stacked on top of it. And he touches the top sphere and it lights up, and he pulls away his finger and he sort of moves his finger to make the movement of the piece in which he needs it to go. And he completes this sort of drawing of a cat with that piece, and then in the final movement, he captures a piece that sort of looks like a sort of a dragon, but extremely geometrical.
As you do this, as you complete that shape, there's a flash that you experience, and you see the arms of Vogue ripping into a mech and ripping it in half and flying through the resulting explosion, and you just hear over the comms, Mattie! But then you're back in your room. Mattie, look. I won. Again. You take these long turns, but then you never make any progress on the game. I always win. How come you don't actually try to win?
Because then the game's over too soon.
But the point is to win.
The point is to play, Lucas. The point is to stay here. The point is to just for a few minutes just pretend that we're not here.
We're not here, are we, though? Not really?
I don't think so. I don't know. It feels very real. Too real. But wrong. Something's wrong.
As you say this, again, you experience this flash. Your name screamed over the comms as you disarm an enemy mecha shoot another one with the gun and then turn and just like claw the head off this mech that you just disarmed, and then you're back in the room again after this quick flurry of action.
Lucas, is that you, or are you just some dream?
Lucas gets up from sitting cross-legged on the floor, and he goes and looks out the window that's letting in daylight in this bedroom. And the bedroom is small, probably too small for two boys to occupy. But there's posters hanging up above both of your beds. Above Lucas's bed, there's these posters for different mecha designs, almost like someone who's into cars. And there's a poster for this famous match that went down at the Iron Death Arena that's sort of plastering the wall. Lucas is looking out the window, and he turns to you and he says, I'm not sure. I think I'm you. I think I'm a part of you. I think I'm the memory of me, but I'm not actually me. You're tucked away, Mattie. The system put you here to keep you safe.
Geist, he says, and he there are sort of two sort of insert shots. One is him sort of absentmindedly touching the implant on the back of his neck, and the other is him then a close-up of his hand with this monolith piece in his fist, and he's sort of squeezing it tightly, and he says, I activated it. I did something during the battle. It's got a hold of me. I'm the one person who doesn't like that damn thing, and it's got a hold of me. I am not this thing. I am not this place. I never wanted to be here. I never wanted to do any of this. I was a child. We were children, Lucas. And now, I mean, I have grown up hating war. I've grown up hating the Dominion and everything that it stands for. Its use of violence in order to enact order, in order to keep its interests in line. And now they have made me the only person that can stop them. I can't just, and I have no choice but to walk amongst them, to stand amongst my team and fight alongside them for what they believe in. But I should not have been a killer. You shouldn't be dead.
I am, though. And I made the choice that led to that happening. It wasn't an accident, Mattie. I died. I just died. The part of you that's here is... it's the part that can't do what the other part of you is doing.
I think I'm doing something terrible right now. I think my body is acting without my conscience. I think that the part of me that they wanted, part of me that they worked so hard to build, I think it's working. And I don't know how to stop it, Lucas. I'm afraid.
You can stay here until it's over.
No. No, I can't stay here. I have to be responsible for what I'm doing. I can't say in one breath that the Dominion acts heartlessly and destroying lives and ruining people. I can't do that and still just turn off my brain when the violence becomes too inconvenient. I made a decision with my friends that we would end this. We're the only ones that can, and if I just go away, if I just go to a dream while it's happening, it's worse. It's worse. In some way, this is me. It's killing these people. And so I have to be fully in control. I have to choose it.
As you're talking, the thunder of cannons, of explosions, grows louder. The house shakes around you as you're speaking. Dust falls from the ceiling. Lucas looks to the door, and you can see under the door the flash of fire explosions. There's the door. And you can choose to walk through it and go back, or you can stay here with me.
He looks at the door. He looks at Lucas. He looks at the piece in his hand. And he at first runs to his brother, and he embraces him, and he says, I'm going to make you proud. And even if you aren't real, I'm going to make the part of you that I hoped would be proud of me proud. I'm going to be true to who you are, who I knew you were. And I can't do that here. And he pulls himself away from his brother, and he runs out the door.
Mattie runs toward the door, and as his hand touches the knob, we cut back to space. Debris litters our field of vision, and we see explosions still going off in the distance. A massive silhouette moves into our field of view. It's Paladin Raptor. Raptor is damaged. There are sparks coming from the chassis, and all around you, Raptor, are the pieces of this cruiser that broke apart after impacting the asteroid. What do we see as we cut into Mora's cockpit here? What state is he in? What is he thinking?
You see that the cockpit is in almost complete disarray. You see that there's damage done to every console. There are alarms going off. Mora flips a switch. The alarms turn off, but the flashing red light doesn't. There is absolutely none of the blue glow to Paladin Raptor that people may have come to expect. And he kind of stares at the floor a little bit, pensively. He just emerged victorious in a colossal and epic duel with his shadow self. And yet he feels like he's been beaten. He stares at the object in his hands, a tattered, weeks-old cigar that's been unlit for days. He chucks it at the floor and he looks at the scrap around him, at the devastation of the cruiser. What room passes by him? Like, I imagine everything's like flying and there's like, oh look, it's a gymnasium.
Yeah.
What does he see?
So you see a hangar kind of pass by, and within the hangar there are Mecha and interceptors that are just kind of like hanging in disarray, completely destroyed as this hangar kind of hurtles past, and you just see pieces kind of flying out of it as it kind of spins past you. In that field of wreckage, though, you see something floating there that you recognize. There's this kind of black and red paint that catches your eye, very different from the look of the Neo-Dominion cruiser. And if you move towards it, you see that it is the head of Warhawk, this big sort of mecha head with a shattered visor revealing all of the different like lenses and optics inside, and there's this almost like hawk-like kind of crest going over the top of the head, and you can see like wires poking out of the neck as it's kind of drifting through space.
The massive hands of Paladin Raptor embrace the head, and there's a moment where, in an effort to bring it close to the head to the cockpit, it looks like Paladin Raptor's embracing this head. He is damaged, but can move, and is wordlessly, while clutching this decapitated remains of this Gundam, begin flying back towards the Okami. I think he would go to the Okami, who still has the saxifrage stone. I remember someone may have taken it. Was it Mattie? Mattie took it?
Mm-mm.
That's how you... Okay, cool.
No, it wasn't me. I think it's just... Isn't it still in the ship?
I believe it's still in the ship. I think you left Saxifrage in charge of steering the ship, so...
I think that if we can cut a little bit farther ahead, I think that Mora lands, sets the head down in the hangar, like ominously in the corner.
Yep.
Goes to the cockpit. Saxifrage says, "Mora, it seems the battle turned out well," something like that. And Mora's going to boop and silence and cut her off and absorb her into this device. This I keep forgetting what it's called.
A data crystal.
The data crystal, and just kind of stare blankly at the empty, silent bridge.
Yeah, you hear the reverberating engines beneath you, and we get this shot of you kind of slumped in the captain's chair, Mora, holding this data crystal, and this like panoramic vista of space outside the bridge, and just like explosions popping in the distance as you're sitting there in the chair. We cut now to Tulip. When we last left you, Tulip, you were hurtling toward Paladin Vogue, toward your friend Mattie. And as you get to Vogue, you see the mecha kind of stop. it like just stops moving, and you see that it is like holding an arm of Mecha in its hand. And it just sort of like lets go of the arm, and the Mecha is just sort of drifting there, and all of these lights and things kind of dim and begin to flicker as you approach.
So, in sequence with the end of last game, after being nudged into space, I guess the last posture of the mecha that is Paladin Rain is an outstretched arm, finger manipulators, reaching out as far as possible across the space between Tulip and Mattie. And as soon as Paladin Vogue, the machine, drops the arm, the legs of the monarch-like machine kind of tuck under and start to create this like propulsive thrust that builds, and then like the hand is like coming at Mattie. Before it was like very concerned, trying to grapple and losing. Now it's like, oh my god, my friend. Tulip is barreling towards Mattie now with the arm outstretched, and then would, instead of actually making contact with the Paladin frame, hers would send out kind of like a Mobile Suit Gundam-esque like wire communication, just like this. It's literally just like an analog wire that shoots out of the wrist and connects like a closed system between Rain and Vogue. And Tulip says, Mattie, you're scaring us. Are you there? Are you okay? It's crackling as it comes in, and then eventually it's clear. Bring! It's like Tulip's face. Hopeful, but like stressed, like and red stained around the eyes from a lot of drama.
And Aaron, you can feel free to narrate this however you want, but I imagine Mattie just sort of touching the doorknob and eyes opening, and you're in the cockpit, and you hear Tulip's voice reverberating out of the comms. Oh, you're muted.
As he is regaining consciousness, he looks around. He sees some of the internal damage from maybe pushing his chassis too hard. He sees on the sensors like all of the carnage around him, and he, in his right hand, he's gripping, and he still feels that game piece in his hand, in his fist. And he looks down, opening his hand, almost expecting it to still be there, but it's not. And he just sort of plays with his hand a little bit, moves his fingers, trying to get the phantom feeling of the chess piece out of his hand, but still kind of lingers. There's almost you do see that on his palm, the imprint of the shape is there. Almost a bruise. And he looks, and he notices that Tulip is speaking to him, and he makes contact. He says, Tulip. Oh, you are muted, Mattie.
As the comm zips back, her strained eyes remain wide, but you see a glint of eager hope, and says, Mattie. Oh, Mattie. And she's just like kind of responding to your facial expression now that there's an actual video connection.
He's looking at her wide-eyed. His face is pale. He is he's almost he's shaking, and he says, "Did we win?"
We won, Mattie. It's over. You can shut it down now. I'll take you home. And she's trying to sound as serious as possible. The mech drifting closer, but again would not make contact without consent.
He says, "Take me home, Tulip." And he goes to the back of his neck and he pulls out the jack and disconnects himself from his machine.
And just as that happens, the paladin frame reaches across, grabs the shoulder, and then just fireman carries the much more lethal and dangerous looking now Paladin Vogue, as I visualized it from our last game, and the heavy bulk kind of overwhelming it and carrying the thrust as they head back towards the Okami. And the video communications has been cut, but a small line of text just beeps up in front of Mattie, and it just says, "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I promise." And as she hits enter, she looks over and she just sees like a shivering but very uncertain hedgehog looking up at her like, "Is it gonna be okay?" As they drift back towards the starship.
On the comm station, Pax, you've just finished your address to the people of Infernus. You've just staked your claim for your rightful birthright. As you finish the message, you're standing there in the comm station. There are loyalists kind of standing around you, all of them reverent, silent. The doors to the comm station open up, and the towering bulk of Trento Bastion, your uncle, comes stomping in. And you see that he has dried blood on his face, quickly stitched gash in his head where he was injured during the combat, and he has his helmet tucked under his arm. And as he comes in, he both like goes into a sharp salute and then dips into a bow, and then in the same like fluid motion grabs you and just pulls you into like just a crushing hug, Pax, and he says, "My prince, I didn't think we'd ever see you again. You have come back in our most desperate hour. Thank you."
And I think Pax would kind of like stiffen up at first from like the touch. Honestly, I don't think he's had like such an intimate thing since his parents died. But then after like maybe a second or so, he would wrap his arms around his uncle and he would say, "If I have to be honest, Uncle, I didn't come back necessarily for benevolent reasons. There's a lot we need to discuss. A lot has been going on that and he would kind of like take a moment and kind of like distance himself and say, just so that we're on the same page, you and my father weren't necessarily working together on these mobile suits, were you?
What do you mean?
And he would just kind of shake his head, taking his uncle's words at kind of face value. And he'd say, like I said, we have a lot to talk about.
Of course. If I might...
this particular problem, but I think the problems that we've brought ourselves might be a little bit bigger.
Whatever it is, it's nothing we can't handle. First things first, we should make landfall, take back the stronghold of your father. The loyalists across Infernus have reported that their skirmishes have been successful. We're routing the Dominion forces, taking back the planet piece by piece. But truly the fight isn't over until you sit upon the throne.
Understood. Let me rally my forces and see where the other paladins are.
Of course, I will do the same. And he turns on his heel, salutes again, and then fits the helmet back over his head as he's leaving the room.
I think before he would fully leave, like right before he gets like to the edge of the door, Threes would say, "And Uncle, it is good to see you again."
And he kind of does that like anime, like, huh, and then just like turns and like walks out of the room. So as you're sort of disembarking from this comm station, we cut finally to Zasha. Where is Zasha? What is she doing as the fight sort of ends, and what state is she in?
So the camera like slowly pans up this mecha floating in space, and a great deal of the paint has been seared away. A lot of the panels are melted and twisted from firing this weapon over and over and over. It drifts inside the cockpit in the upper chest region of the mech and shows Zasha in profile with this red luminescence shining on this curved front of her space helmet. And she taps a screen, and the camera swings around her shoulder to show her trying to close the target acquisition screen that shows all these red dots of terminated targets sprinkled all over. 4 swarms, 40, 50 little red dots destroyed from the targeting system in the past few minutes. She taps it again and it doesn't respond. And she taps it and she taps it, and then she punches it and she hits it again and again, and the thing caves in and shatters part of the display floating in 0G. She pulls at it, but it doesn't come off. She leans back in her seat and boots it. She pushes herself back into the seat. The image of the very first time that they were in battle, just after that last simulation, seeing the pilot spinning away from its broken mech in 0G, and knowing that there was someone Neo-Dominion loyalist inside each and every one, people that she would have died for a few days ago. And she clicks on the comms and says, "Returning to Akami," and clicks off the comms, doesn't care for a response or anything. And just the complete silence, other than the tinking of glass floating around inside this cockpit as things rush by. This smashed ship, asteroid flayed out, drifting off into space. These people trying to salvage what they can of these destroyed mechs, reeling them in to reutilize their parts and configurations. She just returns to the Okami.
The feeling is one of somber sort of feelings as you all return to the Okami. Mere minutes before, you were launching from these hangars in these cutting-edge mecha, recently upgraded, and now you come limping back to the ship. All of you, at least, if not worse for wear than actively damaged. The hangars accept your mecha and bring you back into the ship, and as you all reconvene in the bridge, you all see the sweat staining your jumpsuits, the bags under your eyes, maybe even the wounds that need tending. Outside the Okami, the battle comes to a decisive close, and you see the Loyalist mecha gathering together, boarding landing ships, and preparing to land on the planet itself. But you all have a few moments to speak before that happens.
Mattie would actually, at this point, there is a weak smile on his face as he says, "Not all at once now."
How did they know
Zasha-
we were here?
Zasha crosses the room over to the display and starts inputting the repairs that her mecha needs. Still has the space helmet on, still has everything like she's fixing to jump right back in and go fight again. Scrapes and cuts all along the one arm of that glove that she's wearing, but she very wordlessly and poignantly walks over and just starts inputting the compare refigurations.
Mora's eyes don't leave Tulip Cho. He stands from the captain's chair. What are the odds? He steps down off the step. That of all the space stations we could end up in, we run into the one that leads you to your grandma's ship. Mora looks around in the hull, looks around the ship, almost through the walls at this massive beast of a craft, and says, "They knew we were here somehow."
She had already approached the room a little sheepish, despite gathering her resolve to bring Mattie back to the ship. Once they actually got back, when everyone started to gather around Mattie, she would be kind of heels together, toes apart, just kind of in the back, very tight, very shy, very quiet. And then when the commander singles her out and then says this, it sounds as it's coming in like she's getting praise from someone she respects, and then as the sentence kind of unravels, she starts to feel guilt and blame set in, and you just see her face, and she's a little flushed, and she's just like, "Not my nan. She wouldn't do." And then she nervously looks over to her last point of contact for something that they all share, which is Mattie's Geist system jack, but it is the most relevant in her memory.
Mattie would maybe the data crystal is somewhere visible on the commander's person, maybe as the necklace or however he would hold it. And he looks at it and he says, I know someone we could ask.
I'm not sure we do. Know them, I mean. He presses a few buttons on the armrest of the captain's chair, and you see some schematics pop up on this heads-up display with the Warhawk mecha just like rotating there, and the head of it, you know, just all of the information downloaded. And then he swipes, and then you see a picture of Mora's face. And he says, that's who I just fought. That's who I just, he says, killed.
You mean there could be one of all of us?
Joe, I'm going to be honest right now. I think there might be one of them here. And he looks at you. And then he looks at Mattie.
Hey, Commander. This is Tulip. And I'm still Mattie. You can't copy perfection. So here's the thing. That's obviously very strange. I mean, there's been a lot of strange happening, but nobody here is acting against our interests. I mean, we could have, if somebody was a traitor amongst us, they could have destroyed us a long time ago. They could have screwed the whole thing. They're following us, maybe, but they've got to have other information other than just somebody on the inside. Maybe Saxifrage and Nan's work wasn't so secret.
The captain has a point. If there are clones of us, even if none of us are clones right now, if they were to infiltrate or dispose of one of us and replace us, how would we be able to tell the difference?
Tulip would she'd be kind of starting to get like that huffing steam engine look in her face as she turns on a heel towards Threes after the accusation from the captain, and says, well, Pax, last time everyone was pointing guns at each other, you were pretty loud. What do you think? You think I'm one of them? And she's like, kind of does like a half leap forward, almost tripping.
And to be quite fair, the four of us, we all trained together. The only new person here, the only person that we don't know anything about is you, Mora. So to be quite honest...
You know that I just killed a version of me outside in my mecha suit.
So
did I kill the real one?
What if that was the real you?
Stop
What if you're the fake Mora?
Fighting.
Pax would say, all right, listen. If there were an infiltrator, this is probably exactly what they would want. They would want us to fight amongst each other, which is, well, specifically for me, not very useful as I'm about to take my planet back. But what I was trying to get at is we need a way for all of us to be able to identify each other in the face of an infiltrator. Something that can't be faked. Something that only we would know the other people have. Something that if they were just a clone, they wouldn't be capable of having. A mark of some sort.
Maybe a hedgehog.
I was just gonna say.
Okay.
I was just gonna say. Tulip's eyes would kind of light up, and she'd probably like run over to a data pad that had like a stylus beside it, and then an actual marker. And she would take the marker and she would draw like the shittiest hedgehog you've ever seen. You know, our friends.
The idea is good, but if one of us is a clone,
the clone would have already hung out with the hedgehogs. I hate this. I've never
The only person who's
no
beyond reproach.
clones in the subterranean.
Listen, we don't know that they've made clones of all of us. We don't know your past, Mora. I'm sorry to say it, but we just don't know. We all spent all of those years together in this, in training, in simulation, all kinds of stuff. We basically grew up together. You showed up 10 minutes ago and are our commander now. And listen, I still trust in you, Mora, but I have a very hard time believing that any of these people who I have eaten meals with and shared so much with, I have a hard time believing that I wouldn't know if one of them had been cloned.
And like rallying beside you, Tulip's like, and yeah, and if there's a Tulip out there with an eye patch or something like that, they might be able to shoot as many missiles as me. They might be able to fire the Paladin frame like we've been taught to, but
We're not talking about people who look like you but have like a paste on goatee, Tulip.
Listen,
they don't have what we have.
that Warhawk, whatever it was, it fought a lot like you. Even beyond looking like you, it acted like you. That's a lot to do, especially even for something like a clone. It's one thing to make a copy of someone's body, but to copy someone's soul, to copy their mind, that's intense.
Makes sense though, doesn't it?
Yes.
We're the only ones that survived the process.
Right, but this is my point. Somebody else would have had to have gone through the process. There would have to have been another place where they could have trained another Mora. Or if there is copies of us, there would have to be a place where that could have happened. So there has to be some trail, something that we could find that would let us know where this mech came from. I could see what's left in the head and maybe try to find something.
The director told us that there was a location where there were more of us, that there were other paladins, that we could go there and rescue them. It makes sense to me that if there's only 5 children or 4 children that were able to survive the process and every other person died, it would just be easier to clone them. We don't even know if we're clones. Maybe the originals of us already died off somewhere or something.
No.
There's nothing to say that we are the originals.
The only person I trust completely right now is Zasha. Mora looks at Zasha.
What the hell?
Looks at the sidearm on Zasha's hip. I don't know what clones do, but I don't believe they turn themselves in and ask to be put in jail.
Well, I don't care whether or not I'm a clone or not, or if you guys are clones. Here's my proposition to you, Captain, and the rest of you. I need to go home and rescue my people. With clones, with enemies, I don't care. Those who are coming with me, I would prefer to actually trust me. I don't care if you think I'm a clone or regular person. It doesn't matter to me. But when I'm on the battlefield, I need to know that those who are with me have my back and aren't going to be secretly waiting for a moment for me to slip up to shoot me. So let me know right now who I can trust and who can trust me.
The words of a leader of a planet are reverberating around the bridge, and I'd like to think that like they fall with a heavy weight, and there's a silence, and Mora doesn't even speak. If it wasn't Mattie's excellent case that persuaded him, it was this speech.
I trust everybody in this room. I trust you all more than I trust myself. So it's truly the only thing that I can hold on to right now. All right. So yes, you have my trust, and you can trust me. Draw 10 hedgehogs on me. I don't care. and he and he goes over to what Zasha's doing, and he pushes her out of the way. You're doing that wrong. Let me help you. And he goes to help fix the run repairs on the mech.
3 says that's 1. Tulip. You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, she looks back at you. Her eyes a little glassy as usual when she is passionate, and she snaps like an angry, squinted stare back at the at Raptor as he had just tore into her heart a little bit, and Tulip gulps and says, "On one condition." No noodles for him. He has to cook for himself for the entire trip down to the surface. And I'm not having any of this fighting business. Okay? Not from you. Not from you. Not from you. And she starts to like get out of energy. Like they just had a full Geist system battle. So she starts to fade as she's pointing at everyone, and just kind of start to slump back into a chair that's conveniently like in tripping distance. And she just sinks there and says, yeah, what are you, a king or something now, Threes?
Technically, something of a baron.
Aye, king.
And
Baron.
he would look at Zasha and say, Zasha.
Sure. Beep,
Are you
beep,
with
beep,
us?
beep, beep, beep. She finishes the little like punching in of the calculations and stuff. Turns and says, "We've already started to free your planet. Shame to stop now. I was with you when you came to the break. Family, right?"
Family.
She finally like pops off this space helmet, and you see that she's got like streaks from tears and sweat, and her hair stuck to her.
And I feel finally he'd look at Mora and say, Commander.
Mora takes a moment, nods, pulls off the data crystal from around his neck, and carelessly tosses it to Mattie. He says, "There are coordinates on that data crystal, another Paladin's installation. If you can check that out," and he nods toward the display that's still up, "while doing what you can with that Warhawk head. We don't have to do it now. Obviously, we have a planet to liberate." He shrugs at everybody like, who chose this life? But then he says, "For now, let's not consult that saxifrage." You know what I mean?
Mm.
I'll do my best. And you should all know, before I guess you put all of your trust into me, that what happened in battle was not me. Well, it wasn't all of me. Something happened with my Geist system. I was using it to overcome my my reactor overload, and then I was kicking into this new precog system, and then that's when some weird stuff happened. I don't even remember the last hour of the battle. I looked at my mech's data, and I saw the casualties. I saw some playback of some of the things that I did that it did. I want to believe that I've overcome that I have become stronger than it, but I don't know. But a while ago I stood here with you and we all committed to ending this cycle of violence, and I can't do that by checking out. I have to be as responsible. I have to know when it's time to take action too. And I will try my best without losing myself to the machine. And I'm sorry, Tulip.
She looks at you and like squints a nod. It's okay, Mattie. Do you want to go play some Hollow games?
Yeah. Actually, there's this one game I'd like to teach. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's. Have you heard of chess? Well, here, maybe we can find something, or I can build a unit. Follow me.
Food's on me. And she'll like flash a stink eye to Raptor as she says it a second time, and she'll follow Mattie with a little bit of a skip. But anyone that's incredibly perceptive, which is like everybody else, would notice that there is a masqueraded aura kind of hanging over her shoulders as she walks a little slower behind Mattie than she normally would.
As the door closes behind them and we're left on the bridge, without looking away from the door or looking at Threes or Mora, Zasha will just say out into the room, "How long before Mattie turns those claws on us?" And then walk over to the door and let herself out to go back and start repairs.
Are you still on the bridge, Regael?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. That's both us at the moment. And Mora will say, "What call now? You king, a queen, a duchess, a duke. What is this? Baron? You said."
Yeah. Technically, the title is Baron.
Baron. After you, he says, just mentioning like when you're ready, you got to lead this charge. He assumes.
And he'd start out, but he'd kind of say over his shoulder, but in the near future, that title is going to be obsolete, I think. And he'd exit out of the door.
And Mora wonders whether or not Pax is a clone. Kind of sus.
The Thing board game all over again.
We're playing. Yeah, it's Battlestar Galactica. Who's a Cylon? Who's not?
This is the best. I loved that.
Everyone always assumes I'm the Thing, so this is pretty on point.
I mean, come on. The perfect ship in just the perfect place. Come on.
You could say it's like a game.
I was never the Thing in any of the games.
You could say it's like a game of werewolf.
Werewolf bar mitzvah. Let's take a quick bio break, and everyone can get their blood pressure down, and then we will resume the game. So thanks everyone for watching. We will be right back. Check out the Kickstarter while we're on break. Go do it. There's a link down in the description.
$31. Just $31.
We just need $31. Anybody in the can I borrow $31? PayPal me $31, please.
I'll run you a game of Mecha Hack.
I will run you a game of Mecha Hack for $31. not applicable in some states. All right, we'll be right back. It makes it more exciting for me if I do sound effects, because it does not do sound effects. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us, for tuning in again. We're going to go ahead and continue the session here. We're going to keep it pretty short, pretty light tonight, because it is a heavier episode, and also we just had a big old battle episode as well. So you're all aboard the Okami, and you receive a transmission, Mora, on the bridge. Beep, 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 beep. Incoming transmission.
Flips the switch or the button.
There's a hazy hologram that appears in front of you. Barker, you were just like when I play with my daughter, and I'm like, okay, answer the phone, and she's like, no, but you have to like actually like pretend to answer the phone. You can't just say, okay, I answer it. You have to do it. This hazy hologram sort of fizzles into existence in front of you, Mora, and you see the grizzled, scarred visage of Pax's uncle, this Trento Bastion. And he kind of swivels and looks around the bridge a little bit, and then hones in on you, Mora, and says, "You're one of the other paladins, then?"
Aye.
I have a message from my nephew.
Mora taps a few buttons, keys in some things, and then understands who this person is in relation to Pax. Oh, sure. And do you want me to patch you through?
Please. Throughout the ship, you hear the voice of Trento Bastion. The Dominion forces on Infernus have fallen. I'm pleased to say that we have won the day, and we could not have done it without you. Thank you. My nephew, the Prince of Infernus, now the rightful Baron. Pax Bastion told me that you did not come solely for the purpose of liberating our planet. And then indeed you brought perhaps more trouble with you than you solved. But today I am happy to welcome you to Infernus. Please, come with us down to the planet's surface. Pax, you must assume the throne. You must take back what is yours. Your cousin, Myron Bastion, now sits upon the throne and refuses to abdicate. You may need to take it from him by force. What are your orders, Baron?
So he's speaking throughout the ship, but I'm assuming I have like a comm device or something that can. All right. So I would page back in and say, my orders are simple. I'm on my way. All paladins who are willing to follow me into this fight are welcome to do so. Gather your forces, Uncle. I take the throne today.
Yes, Baron, it shall be done. The comm ends. We cut to the surface of Infernus, this kind of strange, desolate world, not without its own beauty, but long ago mined of anything useful. Now, one of the lone structures that stands upon this world is the Stronghold of Infernus, the seat of the Baron of this place. Infernus is a place of great prosperity and great wealth, having provided most of the lodium to the Neo-Dominion in the construction of its mecha and their weapons. And now the Okami descends through the atmosphere, flanked on all sides by carriers of the loyalists of the Bastion family. All of these ships touch down outside the stronghold. And as the gangplanks lower on these ships, the Paladins descend the gangplank, and you find your uncle there, Pax, standing there, again, his helmet under his arm. He says, Baron, the usurper is inside the stronghold. He refuses to abdicate without facing you first.
Where exactly is he?
Come with me. You walk across the blasted landscape. If any of you want to do anything of particular note here, please let me know, but otherwise we'll kind of fast forward to the gates of the stronghold. And standing there, sort of watched by several loyalist mecha that have their bolt throwers trained on him, is this just resplendent looking mecha, this very knightly, just the most Neo-Dominion mecha you've ever seen. It is just these heavy interlocking plates, and each plate is trimmed with this kind of silver coppery metal. The mecha just shines in the light of the sun that is kind of setting in the distance, and the cockpit is half open, and sitting in it there is this man who has slick back oiled hair, and he's wearing these very garish looking sort of silks, and he's splayed out in the cockpit almost like it's a throne room. And as you approach, Pax, your uncle turns to you and says, "Your cousin is an idiot, a proud idiot. But your reign would go a lot smoother if you ended this without bloodshed. The choice is yours, my baron." He kind of stands back, and your cousin, Myron, he leans out of the cockpit of this mech, and you see him sloshing liquid from this bottle that he's drinking from. And he smiles, and you see his teeth are stained with wine. And he says, "Is this the usurper that comes to take my throne? This boy here, he's too young to lead a world. He's not fit to clean my boots. Come then, you're supposed to be some great warrior, so prove it. Take the throne from me."
And Pax would say, "Your Highness, I am seeking an audience with you to discuss diplomatic matters that have to do with our nation. Would you do me the courtesy of meeting with me? Or do we have to actually do this like children out in the playground?"
You're the child. He spits. I will not treat with you, for there's nothing to discuss. There is no discussion here. This is my planet. It was granted to me by the Neo-Dominion, and if you wish to take it from me, you must do it without the help of your uncle and your teenage band of rebels here. You must do it on your own. Go on, suit up. Let's duel like our ancestors would have.
Neon points this linear fusion rifle at him and says, mainly for her companions, "That is heresy. I'll do it if you don't want to, Threes."
It's not our fight.
No.
It's his.
And Threes would say, "Cousin, since you seem hell-bent on this, before we do this, can I just ask you a question? Me and you were both raised as bastions. Why, in God's name, would you do this? What drove you to this? What could you have possibly wanted to gain from this?"
There was no one. You were gone. You were gone, and they said you were dead. And I stepped up, and the Neo-Dominion wanted me to rule, and so I did, and I brought untold prosperity to Infernus. This place, if you unseat me, it will undo everything I've done. You cannot possibly take it away from me. And he says, "Please, this is all I have. Please, I need
One
it."
more question, cousin. Did you do everything that you could have done for the people?
Everything I've done is for my family, for my father and my brothers. I never done anything without first consulting them and doing what they wished. They're going to be so disappointed in me.
I understand. And he would fall back, and the lip of the cockpit would close, and the lights of his suit would start to illuminate.
He says, "All right, we're doing this the way it should be done. Call off your dogs. It's just you and me, boy. And he sits back in the seat.
Pax, this is murder.
And I don't know how the comm system works, but if you can see a visual of Pax in your cockpit, you'd see him just like smile at you and say, "Don't worry, he'll be alive." And
to be Reggie's side. Like Zasha's just trying to keep everyone from grinding their teeth to powder.
And instead of taking out his sniper rifle as he normally does, he's actually gonna draw like the only time in this entire like campaign that I've ever gotten to draw on my melee weapons. But he'll draw out like a heavy sword and a short sword.
There's a comm that comes through Tulip's system. He has a melee weapon.
The cockpit on Myron's mecha closes, and you see part of his cloak trailing out of it that got closed in the cockpit that's kind of fluttering in the wind. And the mecha itself kind of stumbles forward, draws out this huge sword, and over the loudspeakers broadcasted for all to hear, "All right, then. Rules of engagement. There are no rules, and whoever lives gets the planet. Come on, then. Let's have at this." And he...
Vogue opens up his sensors just to make sure there's no tricks around. He's gonna completely just sweep the area.
As he charges forward, the loyalist mecha that were keeping their guns trained on him kind of take a step back and let him pass, almost looking in very human-like gesture toward your mech, Pax, sort of like a, "Is this cool with you?" as he's like charging towards you with this sword. And he gets within close distance and starts wheeling back with this sword.
So do you want me to make rolls, or do you want this to just be narrative?
It can just be narrative if you want it to be. Honestly, he's drunk and not a very good pilot, so...
Okay. So
he's like a drunk mecha savant. He just like is drunken master fighting you. Yeah.
So the way I imagine this going is that his cousin would advance kind of clumsily, and once he like goes to take his strike down, Pax would just simply move out of the way, and as he does, one of his cousin's chassis arms would just fly away. And it would kind of continue like this. His cousin, like, maybe screaming in outrage and trying to slam a heavy freaking weapon with one arm down on him until, like, his leg is taken off, collapses, and he just keeps crawling until he's just, like, an amputated chassis without any legs or arms. And to keep him from, like, kind of trying to, like, use the thrusters to, like, move his, like, chassis, Threes would just put his like paladin's foot on top of the amputated body, and he would say, I would like everybody here to acknowledge that this is victory. He can no longer continue. We have won the day. A true bastion now sits on the throne.
The cockpit opens up, and Myron comes stumbling out and immediately vomits on the ground as he does so, and then kind of slumps against the remains of his mecha. And he says, "Acknowledge, yeah."
Good. And then he would look at his uncle and he would say, is there a way to broadcast a message to everybody on the planet or everybody in the system?
He says, there's a comm relay inside the stronghold. You can make your address from there.
Good. And I would like to make my first and last message as the Acton Baron of this place.
Sorry, you said first and last?
And he would just keep the comms quiet and start moving in that direction.
We cut to inside the stronghold. The doors open, these huge heavy doors, and I imagine Pax like Two Towers Aragorn pushing the doors open, walking inside, and Trento leads you to this large comm station. Drunk Starscream. Oh my god. I just saw that in the chat. Oh man. You move to this comm station, and Trento kind of flicks some switches. He nods to you. Broadcasting.
Hello. My name is Pax Frederick Bastion, and as of today, I am now the acting Baron of this territory. And I would like to tell everybody something, as my family has kept a lot of secrets. The first thing is that my father, unbeknownst to anybody in my family, used the wealth of this system to create a secret military organization that made secret weapons that would act on behalf of the Empire. But once the Empire found out and dissolved it, continued to act against it, therefore making himself and really all of us traitors. I'm telling you this because from this day forward, I, as acting Baron, am dissolving the barony. I am separating you from the Empire and allowing you, the people who we always said we wanted to protect, to make your own choices. My father did what he did because he believed that he was protecting you, that he could make the decision to keep you safe. But in doing so, he not only cost the lives of himself, but the lives of my mother, and put you all in the predicament that you're in now due to my own disappearance. I think you, my licks, my family, are all very intelligent and smart enough to decide for yourself what path you want to walk down. If you guys decide that you want to join back up with the Empire, you won't have a barony to stop you. But if you decide that with the Empire as weak as it is, that you could turn this place into what you've kind of already made it, your home, where you get to decide what happens, then I think you're smart enough to do that. My cousin is an idiot, but he did the best he could. My uncle is a general, but he's not a diplomat. Within you people, there is someone who could stand as your leader, and I think you're all capable of making that decision. So, for the time being, I'm going to place as my last order my uncle as regent. He'll oversee the new government that you form yourselves. And as such, I am coming to you not as a regent or not as a noble or anything like that, but as someone who is asking for your help. There is more weapons that my father created out there, and there is still war and destruction being waged. Me and my friends are looking to end that and bring peace and prosperity, and I would like you to help me. But I'm not going to force you to do so, and I'm not going to take what's rightfully yours. That's all. And he would end the comms.
As you're delivering this message, we see shots of the people of this place. We see miners who lift up their goggles to listen to the address and kind of look at each other in bewilderment. We see loyalist officers on cruisers who kind of share alarmed glances as you make your proclamation. There's a pilot sitting in a mecha cockpit, and they're kind of nodding along to your address. Their jaw is set, resolute, as this message, this proclamation of a new age for one of the most important worlds in Lodestar Alpha goes out across the territory. Your words are heard, Pax Bastion, and just as quickly as you became Baron, you are Baron no longer. And as you click off the comms, you turn, and maybe expecting to see the disappointed face of your uncle, are surprised to see tears streaming down his face. And again, he embraces you in this large bear hug, and he holds you out at arm's length, kind of looking you over, and he says, "You are your father's son, and yet you are so much more. Your reign as Baron of Infernus will go down as the shortest and most influential."
And Pax would take a moment to like hold back like tears, I imagine, as somebody telling him that he's his father's child is probably touching a spot that he didn't think could be touched anymore. And he would say, "We'd see. Licks are strong, and they'll get themselves back together. I have faith in that." But and he'd look at his uncle. He'd say, "You just got a hell of a lot more important, I think. I hope you're ready for it."
I have been leading people my entire life, and I'm terrified. But I promise you this, I will lead in the interim as best I am able, and when we find someone capable of leading us, they will be the leader. I swear to you.
And Pax would correct him and say, "The people will be the leaders. Whoever's going to step in will not lead them. They're not shepherds, and the people are not sheep. Find somebody who will respect them like that. And if you ever need somebody to come back, if the Empire ever steps to you guys or tries to take what is ours, you know where I'll be."
I trust that. Thank you, nephew. We get a shot of very Return of the Jedi fireworks going off as this new order is called in. People, again, watching the rebroadcast of your message and just shaking their heads. Some of them in complete disbelief, others nodding in agreement. And we cut for a moment to Zasha. And Zasha, I imagine that you're out of your mecha, maybe just nearby it. And Trento approaches you. And he says, "I'm told there are some in the Dominion that you seek."
Zasha's jaw tightens. You see the muscle like along the teeth. "Yes. My parents."
Until very recently, this world was part of the Neo-Dominion, and as a general, I was given access to certain files. He hands you a chip. You might find what you're looking for on here.
She takes it and does the very anime fist to the chest, hand on top of it thing, and says, "I hope so as well."
He nods to you, and in that nod is all of the thanks he'll ever need to give you for helping liberate his planet. And he moves on, and we hear in the distance, I'm gonna need someone to help me clean up this mess. This mecha mess has been made. I need someone to come help me." And Trento's coming over and saying, "Worry not, we'll take care of it. You're lucky to be alive, you know." And I think that is where we will end our session for the night. A nice short session ending on a high note. I'm going to give these guys the chance to do their sign-offs and do their credit scenes here before we call it for the evening. So we'll go ahead and start with, why don't we start with Barker up here, if you don't mind, sir.
You see a rugby pitch, muddy, it's raining, and you see dozens, I don't know how many players are on a rugby team, but you see 2 teams of Moras just going at it in the scrum and tackling each other, all these Mora clones. And out of the heap, out of the scrum comes the rugby ball, and a hedgehog grabs it and walks it over to the end zone. I don't know how to play rugby, but my name is Barker, and I'd like to learn how to play rugby, so send me the rules if you are witnessing this at all. Also, you can find me at Inspire the Barks on Twitter, and thanks for this game. This is fantastic. I expect not only information about the sport of rugby, but also a mecha hack based, like a rugby hack sort of game.
The rugby hack.
Like,
okay,
a system specifically created so we can play rugby.
Yeah.
With a reactor die.
I actually, it's funny that you mentioned this, Barker. I'm starting a rugby-based Patreon subscription service where you can get rugbies every week. You get a rugby.
So ridiculous.
I like how you turned into like a 12-year-old with a YouTube channel for a second. You were like, I'm Barker. I don't know how to play rugby, but I would like to learn how to play rugby. So if you know how to play rugby, please send me the rules for rugby.
All of my friends at Hoover Middle School, what's up?
I have a basketball game tomorrow. I'm a point guard.
Yep. I'll see you in Call of Duty Cold War after this. Is that what they play? Or Fortnite still?
Is
I don't
that
know.
what they play?
Is Fortnite still
man.
popular? I don't think so. Okay.
By the rugby ears?
By the rugbyers, there's the Venn diagram of people who play rugby and people who play Fortnite is a circle. Okay. Aaron, please go. Save me from myself.
Hi. So I guess, yeah, we'll start with the outro credit scene. So it's going to be Mattie in a Japanese bathhouse, and he is currently soaking in one of the baths, when all of a sudden all of the other pilots, all the other members of his fire team charge in and cannonball into the bath, which creates a sort of tsunami of water and soaps. This causes him to wash up onto a beach, where he sees a picnic being set up. And the picnic on the beach has Lucas sitting there in a swimsuit, taking in the sun, and holding up a thumbs up to his brother, and you see sort of beneath the and then there's sort of a shadow that encroaches upon Lucas as we see 2 adults who look much like Lucas and Mattie, both sort of brown-skinned, dark hair. One is a pretty severe-looking woman. One is a sort of stuffy-looking gentleman with like a sash, and they put hands on his shoulders and they cause him to lower it, and there is a shadow that fills the space as his brother begins to fade away and the people begin to fade away, and you look and he sees the tsunami, and it's coming and it's just about to crash, and that's when we cut from that scene. So yeah, my name's Aaron. Please, you can find me at Twitter at AaronDVS, AaronDVS. Please follow me. It's great content for ants who have strong opinions about late 20th century actresses and murder mysteries, that's a good place to start. If that's the kind of content you crave, please follow me at Twitter. Please support the mission manual on Kickstarter. It's great. Some stuff we use here is in that, and it's just wonderful. And there might be rugby in it. I can make any promise I want because I'm not legally bound by ad tabs. So there's definitely rugby rules in there. So
Yeah.
We'll have time to write a new mission.
Yeah, there's the rug. Listen, I'm not.
It's the $100,000 stretch goal. So
There
get in
is
there.
already a Mecha race mission, so
don't let the rug be pulled from out under you.
Oh,
Support the Mecha Hack
damn.
now mission manual now.
Coincidentally, we
Survive
just
everything.
hired Aaron as our marketing person. So sorry, Tim. We're gonna have Aaron write all the marketing copy from now on. Okay. Matt, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'm Matt. I play the youngest paladin, Tulip Show. Strawberry blonde hair and a whole lot of firepower. And yeah, this is a great game. Ongoingly, we're getting to our last act, so I'm looking forward to how that develops. And I'll start. My plug is I'm going to turn the Gundam fan game, essentially, that I played with Mr. Click over here, into which you can find on his Patreon.
Yeah, you can watch it right
into-
now.
Yeah, into a more concise and sound effecty Gundam podcast, just like as an homage to the show. And I'll aim to have the first episode out in alignment with our next Mecha Hack Paladin episode.
Yeah, awesome.
Beyond that, just buy the mission manual via Kickstarter. It's totally a fair gig, and this system works great as a player and as someone running it. So I think it's a worthwhile investment. My credit scene, we start with, after a very long period of waiting, pretending like Tulip is focused on her video game, but obviously her eyes keep like drifting to check to see that Mattie on Mattie's bunk is finally drifted off to anime sleep, blowing bubbles from mouth or nose. Yes. And as this starts to happen, she begins to tiptoe in the in the dim, you can see her silhouette in the dim light of the hallway as she tiptoes all the way across through the Okami to the hangar. And she's got in her hand that data crystal. She moves towards her newly minted Paladin frame, the words REIGN, newly shiny, and underneath it some serial code is scratched out from earlier designs. She climbs up into the cockpit with that crystal. She slots it in. The lights of her mecha start to illuminate her face with a rainbow of colors, and she says, Director, I'd like you to take all the data from the Paladins and create a simulation based on the Battle of Infernus. And then there's some processing noise as Director Sassafrash does her thing. And she says, all right, I'm ready. And you see her, just with a determined face, start to go into one of many sequences of the battle they just fought, over and over again, until her eyes start to, you just see like the time lapse, and her eyes just start to get more and more tired, more and more dark spiraled, as she keeps playing and playing, and she keeps saying under her breath, I'm gonna save you, Mattie. I'm gonna save you. And it starts to get more confident, and then at the very last minute, I don't know if our version of the director can experience this, but I'm going to take some creative liberty for the credits' sake. It dithers away to a scene between Nan and the director as Nan's like kind of at the mess table of the first draft of the Big Wolf starship. And she slams like a knife in the middle of these plans. They're kind of blurred out, and she looks and like reaches out to hold the director's face and says, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna save everyone. We're gonna save everyone. And then it finishes with the same like hallway silhouette of Tulip tippy-toeing back to her room, and she just thump lands on the bed, and the impact like wakes Mattie up, and that scene dithers off.
Amazing. Awesome. John, go ahead, man.
So I'm John. You guys can catch me on Facebook at Doombot Gaming, and if you want some RPG content, I also have a YouTube channel called Out of Character. You can catch me over there. Also, 100%, you guys should back this. I feel like everybody who loves mechs, who loves Gundams, or anything like that should have a copy of this. It is awesome, fluid, amazing. Had such a great time playing in it. But yeah, my end scene for threes, kind of sticking with the last few sessions as I just make everything say it. But I imagine that threes is kind of walking through the now kind of like empty halls of the kind of mansion that his family used to live in, and he would be running his hands over one particular corner with like notches, and he would see the ghost of his mom and his dad and the littler version of himself kind of standing pressed against the wall while his dad takes a knife and kind of cuts the notch into it, and everybody kind of laughing, and the echoes kind of fill the space, and he would keep walking, and you would see the dining room and see the ghost of his family there eating, and the ghost of his family in their bedrooms, and the ghost of friends and family who used to come, even his cousin, and everybody just filling the space that once was his home that he's pretty sure he's never going to see again. And as he would come out, I think his uncle would be standing there, and his uncle would say in that gruff voice, "Are you sure about this?" And threes would kind of look back at the house, and he'd nod and say, "Yeah, like I said, the people don't need somebody guarding over them. They don't need a ruler. They need someone who's going to serve them. And a servant does not need to live in a mansion. Burn it." And as he would walk away, you would hear like men shouting in the background, and then the flames of the house kind of going up. And we would zoom in on his bedroom, and on his bed you would see the mask as it goes up in flames with the rest of the house. That is the end of that scene.
Oh, that's so very Gundam. I love it. Awesome. Headshot get touchdown, says Parker. Parker, you got me in the chat earlier with aggro crag, by the way. You know that's
yes.
my...
Get a glowing, hot part of the crag.
Mike O'Malley just
Nickelodeon
out of nowhere.
guts.
Mike O'Malley is...
Mike O'Malley.
Yep.
He's in Glee. Okay, sorry. I love him in Glee. Anyway, I watch Glee.
JB, go ahead, my friend.
Zasha is standing, spacesuit on, in an airlock. She puts her hand up to the glass and sees Mora, threes, Tulip, and Mattie standing there as they press the button to release her into space. But Mattie's spine opens up backwards ripping a seam in his stomach where teeth and a massive tongue comes out. No! And she floats away in space. Not the traitor. Hello, I'm JB. I'm sending you off on a high point instead of all these heavy outros. God, you people. You can find me on Twitter. I do a lot of tabletop stuff and food. If you like food and food coupons, including like coffee, tea, all the different stuff I get to try from all these wonderful artisans out there, come and follow me on Twitter. It's real great there. And I actually helped contribute, along with Matt and Barker and a million other people, to the mission manual. And it was a lot of fun. And we need to do like 8 to 10 more, so that they can get more and more opportunities to tell me what to do and change. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
These missions, especially the one that you wrote, JB, is at the closing of the Kickstarter, everyone will be able to exfiltrate for themselves a copy
for it,
without art.
You did. Exfiltrate is one of my favorite.
We had a conversation where we were like, I don't know, I kind of like it.
It was probably the most we discussed anything in the book, if I'm being frankly honest.
That's so not
leave
true.
one location carefully after completing a mission.
Yeah.
That's not exfiltrate.
Yeah.
Damn you.
No, we talked about it for about 2.5 minutes, and I was like, it's a cool word, put it back in. So, yeah, we definitely need to unlock those stretch goals, and actually, all of these wonderful people in this game get a credit in the book for playtesting and development, because they have been fairly integral in trying out all of this crazy shit that I'm working on for the book. So
we have been using mods, and we use the swarm rules.
Yep, swarm rules, and honestly, just like
cool stuff.
I'm constantly throwing stuff at these guys that I might put in the book. So they've been key in making it happen. So, and this campaign has been key in making it happen. So, yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. I know it was a short one tonight, but I think that's kind of what we all needed. And we're gonna get back into the action next session. We're gonna decide where we want to go from here, because we're coming up on like we said, the last act of the campaign here. So, thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, mission manual on Kickstarter, link in the description. Take care, happy gaming all, and I hope that you all come to my basketball game tomorrow, because I am a point guard.
Whoa. Sport.